scales to bear. Justice marches, truth takes to the air. From frozen silence, a triumphant sound. The verdict's written on the waking ground. The witness stand, a garden newly tilled. Each memory a seed now forced to grow. The web of lies so carefully distilled begins to fray, the hidden colors show. The spring equinox brings the scales to bear. Justice marches, truth takes to the air. From frozen silence, a triumphant sound. The verdict's written on the waking ground. The blindfold lifts, the sword is raised, no shadow left, the price is paid. The verdict's written on the waking ground. Justice marches, justice marches. Renewal comes with the turning tide. And in the spring, there's nowhere left to hide. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon on this beautiful Thursday, March 5th, 2026. And March is a time of renewal. Welcome everybody in. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you have to swipe down, hit that thumbs up, come back in. You're not going to miss much. We have got an amazing show for you today. And, I love to stream. This has become my favorite pastime. And when I say that, you just got to be here. Welcome to Phoenix Talks. I'm your host, Phoenix, and this community shows up for one reason. We look to find the truth. We challenge the narratives, the ones that the mainstream media tries to sell us that we're not buying. We demand clarity and we never stop asking questions. So if that sounds like you, thank you for being part of this mission. And obviously, we are talking about the Idaho 4, the real Brian Christopher Kohberger. Please stand up. So while I'm waiting for all of you to join us and jump in here, let me ask you a question. Since this is birthday month, March, yes, I'm celebrating with all of you March birthday goers, and I had about 7 more people comment, it's my birthday month. So I've added you into the birthday drawing. That'll be at the end of the month, the very last day of the month. Let me ask you one question. If this is your birthday month or if it isn't your birthday month, if you could make one wish for your birthday, what would it be? If you could make one wish for your birthday, what would it be? Money, travel, solve a mystery, meet someone famous? Drop it below what your amazing one birthday wish this year could possibly be. Let's see. I had another question I was going to ask, but I'll wait. I'll save that for tomorrow because I'm going to run out of questions. Marissa says to solve my thyroid issues. I agree. Patty says my mom to be here again. I hear you. Rebecca, be debt free. Amanda, the legal system to change. I would say the same thing. Brian, exonerated, says Caleb. Dina, a day off. No talkie before coffee. Welcome in. It's been a rough year, and there's no finish line in sight. Well, hang on. It's not over. Cat's Girl says stay healthy, no, no talkie before coffee, early retirement. I hear ya. I hear every single one of you. And you know what? I'm going to agree with every single one of you that all those things come to pass. How about that? All you have to do is be in agreement. In agreement, manifest the shit out of that, guys. Take that one thing and make it happen. So, welcome in. I'm your host, Phoenix, and this is Phoenix Talks. And keep in mind, this may not be the stream for you. If you are trolling, keep scrolling or be quiet. A silent spy is the best spy. Nikki says, good health. I am in agreement with you. And Nora says, so my birthday's in October 23rd, but on March 17, I celebrate 9 years in recovery. What an amazing celebration. I have been a person in long term recovery. I just wanted to share because March is a month of new beginnings. And I agree. I agree with you. New beginnings, new everything. How about that one? New everything. I love it. Look at you guys. Drop it below and I'll give you the question because we're going to talk about the real Brian Kohberger. The real Brian Christopher Kohberger that many may not know about. Drop a 1 if you think you know everything about Brian Kohberger. And drop a 2 if you're open to learn more. Yeah, we love you too, Nora. Look at that. I love you all. You guys are so awesome. We have such a good community here. We really do. We have the best mods on the planet. Welcome everyone in. I see a lot of OGs in the house. Cats Girl, Nora, Lulu Bell, Rebecca, Peony. I love your name. Welcome in. Polka Dots and Donna Rosa, Brenda, Lola Garcia. What a beautiful name. Amanda, love you, girl. I hope everything is going good. Caleb, yes, I see every single one of you. I hope I'm not losing my voice. Slap that button like Brian slapped those clip on fog lights, y'all. Amanda, I so love it. Hey, Patty, welcome in. Susie, little B, welcome in, Susie. I see ya. I got your messages. You guys are so funny sometimes. I love it. Inked Mama in the house. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Love and other habits. Good to see a girl, too. Oh, you make my heart melt. You're so sweet. Are you love bombing us? I wish good health for my grown children. Amen to that. And grandchildren and beyond. I hear you. Okay, hold on 1 second. Hold on. Hey, babe, can you get that? It's Instacart. Okay. All right. So hold on. Give me a second. Hold on 1 second, everyone. Okay, my dog was barking at the guy at the door. So we're all good. Whoop, whoop. Way to go. All right. So Cats Girl says, way to go, Les and Caleb, on your recovery. Me too. Yeah, I think in one way or another, we're all in some type of recovery. And when I say that, it could be from domestic abuse, a bad relationship, you know, just something in your past that has gotten you down. It could be almost anything. And, you know, one thing that we don't do is we do not give ourselves enough credit. We don't give ourselves enough credit for the stuff that we've gone through, we've grown through, we've gone through. We just don't. And I just want to take a moment to say, well done. Pat yourself on the back. And I say, well done. Every single one of you. How about that? So I'm going to start this live today with a video because I think this is going to be really super important. And I'm going to run it backwards. We're going to hear something so awful, and then I'm going to show you something so good. What do y'all think about that? Because we are going to hear the real Kohberger. What I mean by that, there's a lot of stuff you've never heard about Kohberger. All you've heard is pretty much 90% the bad stuff. I guarantee you, right? We've all heard of how he's the creepy loner, incel, murderer, and all this other stuff. But what if I told you there's something else to the story? Would you believe me? Would you believe me if I told you they don't want you to know some of this stuff? Let's get into it. This is the first video.
Welcome to Tuesday. And I got to say, it's not really Tuesday. It is the eve of hell on earth tomorrow. Not for me, for Brian Kohberger. Because tomorrow, the rubber hits the road for him. And when I say the rubber, I mean his trip to Foreverland in a maximum security, or better known as nobody gives a shit who you are anymore, or where you're going to live, or how you're going to live. You're going into obscurity, fella. You can grow your eyebrows back out. Thanks for trying to shave them prior to trial, though. You know, just because bushy eyebrows. Tomorrow is the big day, sentencing day for Brian Kohberger. The day that he puts on a suit and a tie for the last time, because after sentencing, he becomes a zero, a nobody. He becomes a number. Yeah, it's starting to get real here, right? You are no longer Brian Kohberger. You're inmate XXXX. That's how people will refer to you from now on. Nobody in authority will ever call you by your name. No, and you will never wear civilian clothes again. So tomorrow, enjoy them. You'll be in prison garb for the rest of your life. We're going to talk a little bit about what it exactly means to live the life that he's about to live in the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, because Brian Enton got a tour and he's taking us through it. Not only that, he talked to a bail bondsman there in Idaho who knows the ins and the outs of cage living. And I don't mean living in a cage, because you're behind bars. I mean your free time when you get out from behind bars is in a cage, like an animal. Because Brian Kohberger, you are an animal. And now the state of Idaho is going to treat you as such. We have a whole lot of insider scoop on exactly the lifestyle Brian Kohberger is about to start living after sentencing tomorrow. And then also some details about the night he was arrested. 2.5 years ago, there's some new stuff breaking. He wasn't the only one who was put into zip ties. His elderly parents were too. So congratulations, Brian Kohberger. Yeah, you can stare at the walls for the next 60 or so years, knowing that's also what you did to your parents and your family. Tell you a little bit about that. And also maybe we could be getting closer to solving the puzzle of where's the murder weapon? Where are all the bloody clothes? Maybe, just maybe, he'll stand up tomorrow and say something during sentencing, but even if he doesn't, it is entirely possible that cell phone data may have zeroed in on.
Maybe because there are no bloody clothes. Maybe because he has no idea where a murder weapon is. Maybe because he wasn't there. He wasn't stalking anyone. He wasn't connected to anyone. No DNA in his car, says the FBI, the ISP, and the MPD. Not in his apartment. Not in his office at the university. Oh my God. And the list goes on and on and on. Maybe that's why Ashley has left News Nation. Could that be one of the things? Or is it because her name was listed in the e-files? I wonder. So she goes on and she talks about how bad he is and this and that. And then look at the caption of her video segment. Brian Kohberger's sentencing. Will he serve life in prison? What an odd question for them to title this, Will he serve life in prison? What?
Where he could have gotten rid of all of those things. Because right now, we don't have a murder weapon, and who knows where he got rid of his detritus of murder. There's also something you should know. When I said he's going to be inmate number XXXX, we'll learn that soon enough. But he's got another number coming, and it's something called his classification number, because there's a whole bunch of math that the prison system's going to go through in order to determine how Brian Kohberger is going to live for the next 60 some odd years. How he's going to live, where he's going to live, who's going to be next to him, who will have access to him, what he'll have access to, what he won't have access to. Classification is serious math, and that is exactly what it is. You come out with a score. And tonight I'm going to talk to an expert, a warden, who knows how these scores are reached and what kind of score that guy's going to have. I have something else to tell you too. In case you're feeling really crappy about what's going to happen tomorrow, and that is that he's not going to be sentenced to death, he's going to be sentenced to life. I have a list for you of all the famous inmates before him that didn't make it to their natural life behind bars because someone else on the inside did them in first. Famous inmates, famous criminals, famous killers who got a little taste of their own medicine behind bars. Maybe Brian Kohberger will be thinking about that tomorrow. All of that is coming up in just a moment, but sooner or later, and I'm guessing sooner, Brian Kohberger is going to look back on tonight, because this is his last night before being sentenced to life in prison for 4 savage murders. And it is going to seem like the good old days tonight, because it is all downhill from here. No more nonstop attention from the media and from the internet and from the Idaho justice system. No more taxpayer-funded, high-caliber legal members of your legal team with you as their only client. No more dressing up in those fancy clothes.
And yet here we are today talking about the real Kohberger. Ironic, don't you think? that the media has died down from talking about Brian Kohberger, but us online, we still talk about the Idaho 4. We still talk about Kohberger.
Civilian clothes for court hearings. Notions that you're very smart, hardworking lawyers cranked out by the linear foot. No more of any of this. No, nothing. Just endless days and nights in lonely and cold obscurity until you die. It's the firing squad, some people say. And I guess maybe Kohberger agrees, since that's the deal that he made with prosecutors in exchange for pleading guilty. But I wonder if he's going to feel that way in 20 years from now, when he is still only 50. 50 in 20 years. Regardless, the first day of the rest of Kohberger's miserable existence is now just 13 hours away, when he stands before a judge who would have presided over his murder trial, but will now instead hand down the maximum penalty that he can under the law. 4 consecutive life sentences with no possibility of parole and no possibility for appeal. And as the rest of us, the world, as we move on.
That picture right there of Kohberger looking at Anne that day shocked me. I don't know if you were on the live with me when I saw this, when we watched it together. This just about broke me. This scene.
With premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing her, from which she died. And then as to count 5, also murder in the first degree, that on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, Idaho, you did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing him, from which he died. Do you understand those things the state would have had to have proven?
Yes.
And do you understand that by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove those things because you're admitting those things are true?
Yes.
I want to also make, for the record, the defendant has provided with the guilty plea advisory form a document entitled Written Factual Basis that purports to have the defendant's signature dated 1 July 2025. Did you sign that document?
Yes.
And did you agree with the written factual basis that is included there?
Yes.
And then let me ask you, did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, pardon me, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
I would ask the state at this time to provide its recitation of its factual basis had this case gone to trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor,
Now,
the
this
organization
is wild. I know it's been a while since we've seen this. Many of us have seen this, but that picture right here of Brian looking at Anne, it drove me wild. Caleb, you made a good point. This doesn't sound like a man that's guilty. Sounds like a man who knows the justice system is flawed. And he's going to have to fight tooth and nail to file a PCR, to fight the system, to prove his innocence.
Kohberger will not. He will simply move to a maximum security prison, of which Idaho has only one. And our senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, joins me now live, and he just happened to spend the day in that very institution. Lucky for you, Brian, you can go in and you can go out, and you are one of the rare ones, along with the staff, that gets that privilege. The rest of them go in, and they don't get out for some period of time or forever. I want to ask you about your visit and what you saw in there in just a moment, but before I do, I want to ask you about tomorrow and the protocol of the hearing. This is the sentencing hearing. I expect we're going to hear victims' impact statements from these families. What have you heard?
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, Ashley, though, about being able to come out. I went in with Mo, our photographer, who you know, and that's the first thing I said to him. I'm like, ooh, my God, I'm glad that we get to walk out of this place. I would never want to have to stay in here. We'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of the sentencing, tomorrow it's going to start 9 a.m. local time here. Expected to take the full day. Could go into Thursday, we're told. If they need more time, they're ready to go on Thursday, too. I'm told that the victim impact statements will happen first, so the family members will be able to get up. They'll be sworn in, and then they will be able to finally address the court about everything that they've been through. There's multiple family members for each victim. We know Ethan Chapin's family, of course, will be here. They decided not to be there tomorrow. And then after that, I'm told, is when Kohberger would have the opportunity to speak. And the judge could ask him if he wants to speak. The judge could say that he wants him to speak. Ultimately, he doesn't have to, but we'll all be watching closely. I don't personally think he's going to, based on everything that we've seen, but you never know. I mean, tomorrow could be the day.
Well, I know one thing, and that is that Kaylee Gonzalez's dad, Steve.
Now, one thing I will say very quickly as we watch this. This is the sentencing. They've already done the plea. They're going into the sentencing.
Steve said that he will be there to speak, as does his wife and their daughter, Olivia. Whether that plan has changed since last week, since he mentioned it, I don't know. But, you know, it's funny that you say we don't know whether Brian Kohberger is going to speak. By all accounts, our work, yours and mine, and everybody watching, and everybody who's investigated and been invested in this story for the sake of the 4 victims, by all accounts, Brian, he just seems like he is filled to the brim with ego. He just seems like he thinks he's better than all of us. And I would be shocked if he didn't want to do that last parting, statement before he literally disappears into atrophy land. And we saw, BTK, the BTK killer, do that and talk and talk and talk and floored us all. How many people think that he just might decide to enthrall us all with what he thinks was his best work of his life?
Yeah, look, it's a good point that you say. I mean, they could never allow him to do an interview. He could just be in this prison in the middle of the desert. I mean, we're 30 minutes outside Boise to the south, just in the middle of nowhere. He could just rot here for the rest of his life and never get to say a word. So maybe he will take the opportunity tomorrow. It's possible. He's just been so quiet all along, and he clearly understands the process so well. I mean, he's getting his PhD in criminology, but the yes and no answers and just the total numbness about him. It's hard to imagine him suddenly getting emotional and deciding to speak. But it's
that picture too, right there. That picture from the plea hearing shocked me. Anne smiling at Brian Kohberger. Now, will the real Brian Kohberger please stand up? Because obviously there have been multiple versions of Brian. And which one is the real one? There's so many multiple narratives about Brian Christopher Kohberger. And we're just here trying to figure out the version of the truth. So, will the real Brian Kohberger please stand up? I'm going to play a song I made.
Yeah, check the mic. 1, 2. Got a little story for you. Straight out of grad school. It's a weird one. Let's get into it. PhD dreams, criminology scenes, thinking about the criminal mind and what it all means. Reading about the motives, the passions, the rage, putting all your little theories down on the page. Staring at the screen with some dead looking eyes. Guess you thought your own research was the perfect disguise. Oh, you thought you were clever, a mastermind plotter. That you were clever, a mastermind mastermind plotter, just a PhD student getting hotter and hotter. Left the trailer, breadcrumbs, a digital screen, waking up the whole world from your twisted little dream. Yeah, the case studies you when the class is in session. Front row seat to your own public confession. Driving all night in your white Elantra, singing your own weird off-key mantra. Revisit the scene like a film buff's delight. Didn't think they had satellites tracking the night. Cell phone pings, a rookie mistake for a guy who studies this stuff for goodness sake. Oh, you thought you were clever, a mastermind plotter. You were clever, a mastermind plotter, just a PhD student getting hotter and hotter. Left the trailer, breadcrumbs, a digital screen, waking up the whole world from your twisted little dream. Yeah, the case studies you when the class is in session. Front row seat to your own public confession. From the online forums to the late night drives, analyzing the data of other people's lives. Felt that disconnect, that empty space inside, but the evidence my friend has nowhere left to hide. The ultimate thesis on your own damn fall. Now you're just another picture pinned up on the wall. Hold up, wait a minute, the plot just got thicker. Turns out Professor framed the moved a little quicker. He had the motive, he planted the clues. Our PhD student instant singing the blues. Class dismissed.
Okay, so with that being said, and the music made, let's talk about the media version of Bryan Kohberger. You know, this one that they've made you seem so scared of, the one that they don't want anyone to make you think he could not be a cold-blooded killer. You know, the scary, creepy Kohberger that they loved to put out all over the media. The one, you know, that looked like death warmed over, the one, the AI that they put out there for the public to see, to make him look like a cold-blooded killer. The media version, a quiet criminology PhD student, socially awkward, socially loner, obsessed with crime, the perfect suspect narrative. Oh my gosh, K.S. Jensen Art gifted 5 Phoenix Talks memberships, y'all. Whoop, whoop. Look at that. Love it. Thank you so much. Y'all are so beautiful. Then you have the prosecution version. The man whose DNA was allegedly found on the infamous knife sheath. The white Elantra tied him to all the surveillance. Cell phone movements around Moscow. Alleged stalking narrative. What's your version? Because the defense had a different version. And this is wild when you start breaking it down. The defense had a different version. And when I say a different version, it was our constitutional right version. Presumed innocent. Questioning evidence and mentioning in the filings possible alternative perpetrators. Challenges to investigate methods. They did. And then you have obviously the internet version. And what version was that? dozens of theories, all his old pictures, childhood pictures. I mean, guys, I've only seen so many pictures go back so far. Conflicting timelines, dozens of theories, claims about witnesses, the roommates, the neighbors, social media speculation, and then we have this, the real Kohberger. Please stand up. This is the Ada County picture of Brian Kohberger in the Ada County Jail. That's the real Brian Kohberger. So, just because we say, please stand up, doesn't mean the media, the police, the defense, the internet, you might hear 5 different complete stories. Is he the criminology student who studied crime too closely? Is he the man the state says committed one of the most shocking crimes in Idaho history? Or is this more to the story that hasn't come out yet? Now, we're not going to jump to conclusions here. We're going to look at documents. We're going to continue to examine the timelines. We're going to ask the questions that basically others are afraid to ask. And we're going to keep going. Do you think the public honestly knows the real Brian Kohberger yet? Yes or no? Drop it below. Do you think the public knows the real Brian Kohberger yet? And then I'm going to ask you, drop a 3 if you think the media coverage shaped the narrative way too much. Think about all the videos you've seen in the last 3 years. All the information that the media has shared. And then think about the social media sharing. Because you know what? When you share the good stuff, social media shuts you down. YouTube deflects. TikTok's demonetized. No one ever sees your videos. It's wild. But yet if I go and I share you something that's very important on TikTok, nope, they're not going to share it with you. Drives me insane. But let me share one little thing, just one little thing about, let's say, somebody who died, Eric Dane, and they're showing 1.2 million people a little simple clip. A little clip. Not even a minute clip.
I will have never, by the time anybody sees this, have fallen in love with another woman as deeply as I fell in love with Rebecca. She's the mother of my children. And the whole way it came about, it was so organic and fortuitous. I met Rebecca, and I turned to her friend, and I said, I'm going to marry that girl.
Now, if you haven't seen that Netflix special that he did, I mean, for his daughters, Billy and Georgia, that is pretty powerful. But look at this. 45,000 people liked this video. 45,000 out of 1.2 million that saw it. 1.2 million people saw this 54-second video. You know, I'm not going to complain because 519,000 saw the clip that I caught these people leaving, which just looked so suspicious at 3:30 in the morning with the Idaho 4. And yes, most of my content has been the Idaho 4. Why? Well, if you followed me for any time, if I share something that really resonates in my heart, I share until Idaho 4. You can go all the way back to Gypsy Rose. You can go back to, excuse me, TikTok shop, the sheriff and the judge, John Benet Ramsey case. I mean, I'm sure there's some things that you don't even understand or know about in the factual pictures of John Benet Ramsey. When I got the file, I was like, you got to be kidding. People need to know this. All the way over to Gypsy Rose, all the way over to Alicia Navarro. I mean, guys, some of these things are probably in my repertoire. And then Crystal, an Louisiana mystery, the Idaho Mountain mystery, Sebastian Rogers, John Moore, self-defense in Ohio, where he won. And I mean, you can go and look through Chris Watts. Oh my gosh. Riley Strain, Madeline Soto, Rachel Morin. Boy, that was heavy on my heart. And Audrey Cunningham. I mean, you can go through those. I've been into true crime for a long time. And let me just tell you, there is something wrong with social media when you share factual information and documents. And people are waking up. People are catching on. People are now looking into the Idaho 4 case from a legal standpoint now that there's more documents available. I mean, the video that I shared yesterday, I put it up in a little clip of Steve talking about how he was going to protect her and the white Solantra. 4,500 people have seen that clip. Okay. And I made a little funny song last night. If you guys haven't heard it, go listen to it. I'll play it real quick just for a highlight.
Another notification. Let me guess. The fan club is back in session. Let's go. Woke up this morning, another video tag. You're looking real mad, is it 'cause of my bag? Gathered your posse, your lonely girl crew. Got nothing better or exciting to do. Yeah, screenshot my stories, dissect every post of all of your hobbies. You love me the most. Oh, honey, your hard drive must be getting so full. All those terabytes just to be cruel. Another SD card, a prime delivery, just to keep up with your obsession with me. You must be so lonely, I'm kinda concerned. Is this all you do with the money you've earned? Yeah, zooming on pictures to find a new flaw, then run.
Okay, so you kind of get the idea, right? So I have fun on the TikTok, but I do share these on my YouTube. But let me just get back to the point. The point is we like to have a little fun, like to mix it up, like to give you some factual information, but this is how much they don't want you to see. Okay? I mean, yes, I do follow John Stamos. I do repost a lot of things. I mean, you can go and look at my repost, some of my favorites. I mean, oh yes, and let's watch this because I'm going to give you a little insight of who Brian Kohberger really is. Let's watch it together.
I want to be just clear that I'm still within the FERPA limitations that protect students and student information. So I will talk within that. I met him in the fall of 2018 when he came to DeSales University. He had an associate's degree and he was going to get into our 4-year program as a psychology major. He selected the forensic track, which made him an advisee for me because he was also in my class that semester. He seemed like eager to be in the classroom. He was polite, he was respectful, intense, and curious. And there was no reason for me to think that he was anything other than someone who was really interested in this potential career. I look back, there really isn't anything that stood out to me. I think when you're a teacher, your instinct is to accept students at face value. You don't, start with suspicions or, and there really weren't any red flags. He was always really quite respectful and grateful. He would thank me for things. He was attentive. He would do the work. I didn't have any concerns. There were 3 undergraduate courses in the forensic track that I taught, and he was in all of them. Well, one was Introduction to Forensic Psychology. Another was my death investigation class, which was called Psychological Sleuthing. And the third one was called Dangerous Minds, the Psychology of Antisocial Behavior. And then he got into the graduate program in criminal justice for a master's degree. And he took a course with me called Behavioral Criminology. Well,
Okay, so this video is kind of long. If you're on the TikTok, I'm going to drop it below, but you kind of get an idea. There were no red flags, mostly positive, so confusing because there was an article that was actually written by the New York Post, folks. The New York Post in January 3rd, 2023. And a former university professor of Brian Kohberger said the accused killer was one of my best students ever, and that the then master's candidate was one of only 2 students she recommended for a PhD program. Yes, folks, she recommended him for the PhD program. Michelle Bolger, 33, an associate professor at DeSales University in Pennsylvania, told the Daily Mail that Kohberger, who was arrested in the murders of the 4 Idaho students, was a great writer and a brilliant student. In my 10 years of teaching, I've only recommended 2 students to the PhD program, and he was one of them. He was one of my best students ever. Everyone is in shock over this, she told the outlet, adding that he was always perfectly professional. The associate professor at the private Catholic University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, she was stunned that her former student has been charged in this shocking crime. I'm shocked as at what he's been accused of. I don't believe it, but I get it. This news is upsetting. I haven't slept at all since hearing about Brian. Bolger told the news outlet she taught Kohberger in online classes last year and helped him with his master thesis at DeSales. I never saw him in person. I couldn't tell you how tall he was or how much he weighed. My only interaction with him was via email and Zoom. I didn't know anything about him, whether he was married, had a girlfriend, etc. He seemed normal to me, but then again, I only knew him from my teaching online. I didn't know anything personal about him. I believed he worked full-time like most of our grad students do, she added. Wow. Wow. I was one of the professors who helped Brian with this proposal on his graduate thesis, his capstone project. He did put out a routine questionnaire for his thesis. It looks weird. I understand that from a public view. But in criminology, it's normal. Again, I understand from the public perception that it looks weird, but in criminology, it's normal. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Blew my mind when I read this. Will the real Brian Kohberger please stand up? Yes, she is at DeSales University, assistant, professor, director, Master of Arts in Criminal Justice program. Amazing. And she worked at a case manager at a men's community residential treatment center outside of Cincinnati. Speaking of recovery. Her research and teaching interest broadly focus on quantitative analysis surrounding criminology perspectives, predicting behavioral outcomes, and community corrections. Wow. She's also recently branched out to conduct community-based research involving citizen fear of crime and satisfaction with police, pretrial and probation programming, and perceptions of gun carrying. Wow, wow, wow. That was his first professor before Ramsland. What do you all think of that? Do you even understand how different the media has programmed us to believe who the real Brian Kohberger is? I mean, we're just quietly watching the mainstream media tell us who to believe, who the real Brian Kohberger is. Wow. Boy, 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 boy. Why are we so afraid to look into the real deal? Why are we so afraid to ask the right questions? Do you even think that a trial would have changed what people believed out there in the media? I don't even think a fair trial was even appropriate. Going to trial was probably not appropriate. When I look back at the actual sentencing and then we look at the actual hearing, it broke my heart to see Brian Kohberger sit there and look at Ann Taylor because she trusted him.
Impact statement and have been told that that's not necessarily allowed. That they should address the judge. But at this point, I mean, they may just do what they want to do. I mean, if they look at him while they give their statement, what are they really going to do about it?
Well, I've been through a lot of these, and judges give a lot of latitude to these victims' family members because this is it. This is their only chance for true justice. They're not getting a trial. They're not getting satisfaction of at least knowing what happened to their kids. And so usually judges will go farther than you would imagine. They'll have to haul it back, though, when things start to get heated, tense, and potentially break into violence. And that we've seen that happen, too. And I always understand why. I understand why victims' family members just lose it and go after, the convicts. But so let me ask you a little bit about the place behind you, because you were very lucky to get a chance to take a look inside. Very few people ever get a chance to see inside a jail, let alone a max prison. So walk me through it. Tell me what you saw, what you learned.
Yeah, it was something. I mean, like I said, it's beyond the guard gate right there. You have to go way back. I mean, surrounded by multiple levels of barbed wire. You get buzzed in through multiple gates. They won't open one gate until you get to the next. Then they do a search, the metal detectors. Obviously, you can't bring your phones inside. We got the tour. We got the full tour. We were there for almost 2.5 hours, actually.
And this is in the middle of farmland, guys. I've been out there on that road. It's in the middle of farmland. So every time you hear a whoosh, it's a car going by. Just so you know.
Walked around the whole place, and it's sterile. For something surprised me how awful it was. Something surprised me, though. I was surprised some things that the prisoners do get to do that I wasn't expecting. Take a look. So this is the Idaho Maximum Security Institution. You can see the double barbed wire. This is where the most dangerous and violent people in Idaho are housed. We're going to go inside for this tour. Very, very rare look at what it's like on the inside. This is the area of the prison where Brian Kohberger could end up. Long-term restricted housing and what's known as closed custody, protective custody, where prisoners who could be hurt by the population go, or prisoners who could hurt others have to stay. The prisoners here are inside these cells 23 hours a day. All food and water is sent into the cells through these little doors. They can sit at these tables, but are secured to the tables with shackles, or put into these cages where they can use tablets for visitation. While we were watching, we saw inmates doing something called fishing, when they use strings from blankets or a t-shirt to send notes under the door. That's why these bean bags are placed at the foot of the door to stop them from doing it. Almost every inmate can buy a tablet to have in their cell for $100. It has music, email, and movies. And they can also buy a TV to keep in their cell, which has basic cable. This is the outdoor area where the prisoners can go 1 hour a day. Some have to stay in these cages because they are so dangerous. For prisoners who are in protective custody, they may also get time here in the library or the computer lab. Sexual offenders and murderers of young women and children can be shunned by the population here, which could be an issue for a high-profile inmate like Brian Kohberger. Though we're told after the newness wears off, most inmates begin to fit in. So Ashley, they will do an evaluation of Kohberger after the sentencing, the Idaho prison system will, and then they will determine exactly where he'll go, although it appears this is really the only place. This is the only max prison. This is where the worst of the worst goes. And I was surprised, maybe I just didn't know this. I was surprised that every prisoner can buy a tablet for $100, that they can have all the time in their cell to email, listen to music, watch movies, and they can buy a TV here, and they get the TV in their cell all the time with basic cable.
But they won't allow Brian Kohberger to have a tablet to talk to the outside world. Why is that? Why is there a double standard? You know, I've got all the emails to prove every time I tried to write him, ask him. He doesn't even have that option to have a tablet. It's crazy. It's actually wild. Now, let me say this for a minute. If we know, and Ann Taylor said he was factually innocent, and we've seen the documentation in the court documentation, we've seen filings, we've seen evidence, why is an innocent man, factually innocent, sitting in a prison like this with no technology, no rights?
I just always assumed they had to go out and they got like 30 minutes of TV time, but that's not the case here.
Yeah, every place is a little different, and I think a lot of people are upset about the fact that prisoners are given all that, lounge time in their cells with entertainment. I've also heard another story which is crazy, Brian, and that is that they're watching true crime. These are criminals who have committed true crime being entertained by shows about true crime, which is just sort of an irony that blows your mind. Talk to me about the death row inmates, though, because he was likely going to be one of them. Is he going to be housed near them? Will he be able to talk to them? Will he ever see them and think, well, I could have been you, but I'm here?
No, so they're kept totally separate. They're in the same prison. I think there's 8 of them who are here. I think that's the number they gave us. They're actually kept together like in a pod together. So Brian Kohberger will not be associated with them. Really, I don't think he's going to be associated with much of anyone, at least to begin with. Eventually, it sounds.
Now, I looked at the statistics. There's 128 in that cell block J, but he is physically moved away, and there is only, I think, 6.
Like he could sort of move up to where he could get some socialization with other prisoners who they deem don't want to hurt him. But that seems to be a big concern, that he's going to have a target on his back based on his variety and based on the awful, heinous crimes that he committed. We spoke with the local bondsman who knows the prison system very well. He's been to a lot of these places. This is what he said about that. What will Brian Kohberger's life be like there?
His life is going to be a little more harsh than what it was in Ada County Jail. When he was there, we couldn't legally say he was guilty yet. Now he is guilty. He doesn't have all that, kind of back and forth stuff. He is a guilty murderer, and he's going to have to be segregated. As you may know, people in prison don't like people that hurt women or children, and he's hurt women. And that's not something that the inmates there take lightly to. It's something that is definitely going to put a target on his back.
And the people in that same prison are the most dangerous.
They're the most dangerous in Idaho. That's where it is. The facility he's in is a men-only facility, and it's the most dangerous prisoners in Idaho.
And remember, they don't have any facilities with those with autism, because legally, in his documentation in the court filings, he has autism.
So the vibe that I got is that the prisoners do shun certain people, sex offenders, people who kill children based on their crimes, but that over time, sometimes even some of those folks get accepted here by the general population. So we'll just have to wait and see, sort of how Brian Kohberger fits in here.
Well, and I've got a segment coming up on this show, Brian, about prisoner justice, where big, high-profile, dangerous, psychotic killers have met their prisoner justice fate in the past, meaning they did not get to live out their natural lives of their sentences. They were murdered by other inmates in horrible, gruesome ways. And I'm going to line up a whole bunch of those guys, famous names that our viewers will know. Before I do that, though, can you tell me if the bail bondsman was savvy about what the prison does to keep him, from getting shanked, keep him from that prisoner justice? How do they keep him alive from those who, put the target on him?
Yeah, that's a big deal. The bondsman talks about it, but I also learned a lot about it inside the prison. The concern that he won't hurt anybody else violently is there, obviously, although we haven't heard any stories about him doing anything bad in any of the jails he's been in. But perhaps the biggest concern is someone hurting him, again, based on his notoriety. And they will go to great lengths to protect him or any other prisoner in that situation from being hurt. Listen to his explanation of that.
He will be in confinement. It's not going to be a disciplinary segregation. It's going to be more of an administrative segregation because of the target on his back for murdering women. And he will be out an hour a day. And the former Attorney General of Idaho said he'll probably be in solitary his whole life, and I agree because of that.
So no interaction with other prisoners?
No. The maximum security facility in Idaho does have a step-down program to where they can reintroduce people to other inmates, and they kind of put them in cages in the same room to where they can talk but not have contact. But I don't think he will ever get that chance. It's something he would probably be smart not wanting, because there is that target. And people in prison don't forget. He will always have that target.
And those cages, Ashley, he spoke about, you saw it in my video earlier, they are so weird to see, because there's the cells, and then there's the big open areas, and they're almost like these phone booths in the open area, and they do look like cages. I don't know how else to describe it. And they put them in that cage, and then there's someone else in one far away, and then that's how they can communicate sometimes.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Half of me thinks, my God, how do we treat fellow human beings like that? And the other half of me thinks, why are we not treating Brian Kohberger worse after what he did? But it is
Yeah.
sorry to say,
When he
sweet
gets
justice
the TV and the tablet.
Yeah, but I don't want to watch TV in a cage. So it is kind of sweet justice to see that that's the only way he'll ever have any kind of joy in his life, in a cage within a massive prison cage. I also got to say, Brian, that those little tables where if you want to go out and sit in sort of that little general pop within your protective custody, you're going to be locked to a table. It made me think it looked like a kindergartner's table, but with a handcuffs. And again, I don't know if it's schadenfreude or joy or what it is. Again, the sweet justice comes to mind. Like anything that can remind us that his days are awful forever makes us feel better that he escaped, the ultimate punishment, which was what he did to the kids, a death penalty. Brian, amazing work. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ash.
Brian's also going to stick around in Idaho because he's going to cover live, like from start to finish, that entire hearing tomorrow. So he'll have everything for us throughout the day and, of course, tomorrow night on Banfield. And granted, everybody except Brian Kohberger and maybe Kohberger's family hopes that he's going to end up in the darkest and dankest and deadliest prison in the state of Idaho, right? But how do officials decide which one? It turns out there is a science to that, specifically a score. And I'm going to show you how Brian Kohberger will be scored and ranked in just a moment, because he may be sent out of Idaho. Think about
Exactly. And did you know, I called this a while back, there is only one prison for autism. And can anyone guess where that prison is? Anyone can guess. And that is, yep, that is in Pennsylvania. There is, yep, Nora, you're absolutely right. I talked about this a little while ago on a live, and there is one well-known facility in Pennsylvania. How ironic is that, where he will end up, in Pennsylvania, where his family is from? That seems to be one of the best prisons for those with Pennsylvania. There's an autism in prison experience called Prisonology. You guys can go out and look at that. Correction Management and Treatment of Autism Spectrum Disorder, the Journal of American Academy Psychiatry and Law. There is so much out there talking about prisoners with autism. It is wild that I think, humbly in my opinion, he may end up someday in Pennsylvania.
about that for a minute. He could end up out of Idaho. First, though, never before heard details about the night Kohberger was arrested, thousands of miles from the murder scene. And that still missing murder weapon? There's only so many places it could be, and one place stands out from the rest. Got a lot of new reporting on a story you may have thought was over. That's when we come back. When police in Pennsylvania swooped in to arrest Brian Kohberger 6.5 weeks after the carnage in Moscow, Idaho, there was nothing routine about it. There were helicopters above, there were snipers, there was a SWAT team, and why wouldn't?
And isn't it just ironic that the picture we got from that arrest, from that raid, from that swoop that she's talking about, was this picture released by the FBI? Another, will the real Brian Kohberger please stand up? Isn't this wild? Just another picture.
Derby, right? For all the cops knew, they were busting in on Hannibal Lecter, who was inside his own home with God knows what kind of booby traps and help. Which is why it was not just Kohberger who was zip-tied by the squad of commandos who were all clad in black. His elderly parents were also restrained at point, again, zip-tied, as their son, the quadruple murderer, was piled into a cruiser, never to return. So Brian Kohberger can think about that for the rest of his life, too. The first night of an enduring hell that he inflicted on his parents for the rest of their lives. We learned early on that Kohberger asked the officers, right at the time he was being arrested, was there anybody else arrested? Which seemed like an odd question then, and even more odd now, given his confession. But the Daily Mail has some new reporting on
And you
what
know,
else.
that question, was anybody else arrested, came from Brian Enton and a source. No one has ever been able to prove that that was what Brian Kohberger said. I don't think Brian Kohberger has talked at all, period.
Kohberger had to say that night to the police officers, and where he may well have ditched the murder weapon and his clothing that police states have yet to find. Joining me now is Laura Collins, investigative reporter and host of the Daily Mail's podcast on the case, the Idaho murders. Laura, good to have you here. Let's just get right into it. The SWAT team, the helicopters, the snipers. I'm not surprised given what they knew this guy was capable of, right? The carnage in Idaho. I mean, none of those officers want to end up a target of his, so I get it. But I do want to ask you what else Brian Kohberger asked those police officers after the famous line, was there anybody else arrested? How else did he try to ingratiate himself?
Yes, well, quite remarkable. I'm a criminology student. Perhaps we can get a cup of coffee after this. Showing no real understanding or perhaps complete denial, disassociation, or as you mentioned earlier, maybe just ego that he thought he was getting away with this.
Boy, I'll say. Or, I'm just like you.
Lulu Bell, this is so interesting that you said this. Forward-thinking people from Pennsylvania, land of peacemakers, Quakers, and earth-loving people. Isn't that so odd that someone from this area in Pennsylvania came to school in Washington freaking state? The capital, Seattle, they have a lot of unrest there, political unrest. And then they go to Pullman, WSU, and could we imagine if the picture that they painted us is not really the individual in the hoodie, but this individual? Isn't that so freaking odd? It is odd to me because here's the deal. He earned a criminology degree, was pursuing graduate studies. He studied criminal justice and psychology topics. He was reportedly interested in how criminals think and how crimes are investigated, but yet his alleged murders hasn't even been investigated properly. Y'all, I'm going to have a freaking blowout. I'm going to have a meltdown. How ironic is that? He was reportedly interested in how criminals think and how crimes are investigated. But yet his own accusations is like cheese, Swiss cheese. His intellectual interest, he showed interest in academic research related to crime patterns. He participated in student research projects and surveys, which I just showed you from his associate press. What was her name? Professor, blogger. Is that her name? Bolger. And then there were no red flags from his other professor, Anne Ramslin, sorry. And now, no red flags, nothing that they could pick up. These professionals didn't pick up anything. So you're telling me he outsmarted the masterminds. He outsmarted the FBI, outsmarted the police, outsmarted all his professors, and his own case wasn't investigated 100% properly? Oh my God. You guys, how did he do it? How did he commit this crime? That's the question we need to start asking. How did he get away without knowing them, not associated, can't place them in the house, no DNA, no trace of anything now in all the documents and all the paperwork we've seen? And every single person coming to be a witness for him is all professional people. But yet the state's witnesses were 99% frats and sorority and Moscow Police Department. So, intellectual interest of the real Brian Kohberger. He showed interest in academic research related patterns. He did projects and surveys, and he was described by some professors as academically genius, focused. Does that make sense to you? Really? Does this make sense? To me, it screams no. It does not make sense. Math is not mathing. It's not adding up. It's not. Family and personal background comes from a family background that doesn't believe in the death penalty. Well, folks, now we know why we saw this. Now we know.
The state's evidence as an
Now,
overview.
I'm going to play it back just
back in
one
March
little bit.
Kill and murder Xana Kernodle.
He purchased online.
The state at this time to provide its
Listen
recitation
to
of its
what
factual basis had this case gone to
Thompson
trial.
says.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with from the probable cause affidavit and other documents. The state's evidence as an overview would show that back in March of...
Did you guys just catch what he said? Did you just catch what he said?
Mogan, a human being.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Pursuing a PhD in...
Actual basis had this case gone to trial.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the organization of the recitation is different than what I think the court and the public may be familiar with.
It's different from what the court and the public may be familiar with.
Affidavit and other documents.
The PCA and other documents. Can you believe? Now we know what they were saying in court, that it's taken us this long to figure out. They already knew what we were going to find out.
The state's evidence as an overview would show that back in March of 2022, when the defendant was residing in his parents' residence or was residing back in Pennsylvania, his home state, he purchased online a K-bar knife and sheath with an Amazon gift card that he had purchased shortly prior to the purchase of the knife, sheath, and sharpener.
Now,
jumping ahead.
Hold on a second, because I do, in fact, remember reading a document that he obtained a knife, similar to K-bar, and it was a gift from a professor. What professor? I don't know, but I remember reading in one of the documents, and it might have even been Moscow Police Department. Hold on a minute. Does anybody remember that? He received a gift of a knife. Hold on a minute. He received, I might have to go back to my notes, from a professor. Hold on a minute. Wow. Okay. Let's look at this real quick. I just found something that I think is very interesting. This is narrative Brett Payne interview with Kohberger in Pennsylvania. Speaking of Pennsylvania, I don't know how large you can see this. Let me see if I can make it a little bit better. It just came across my mind. So, ISP Detective Sergeant Gilbertson, FBI Special Agent Shirley, and I arrived in Pennsylvania in preparation for the service of arrest and search warrants for Kohberger and his family residence. After several coordination meetings, Detective Gilbertson and Shirley and I drove from the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks at Stroud, Pennsylvania, to await the arrival of Kohberger after his arrest and to interview him upon his arrival. Now, Brett Payne is writing this. Approximately 2 a.m., Kohberger was brought to at 2 a.m. Shit, I would be dead tired. Sorry. And placed in an interview room. The interview was recorded in a built-in video system at the barracks, as well as Detective Gilbertson's pocket recorder. Gilbertson and I were the interviewers present. This is a summary of our interview with Kohberger, and it is not verbatim transcript of the interview. A full interview transcription will be attached to the case file. I'm going to request it too. I want to hear how he talks and his demeanor and what his thoughts were at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to request it today. Detective Gilbertson and I began to introducing ourselves and stating which agencies we represented. When I stated who I was, Kohberger said, "You look familiar." Why would Kohberger tell Payne, "You look familiar"? Interesting. Detective Gilbertson and I prepared. Well, wait a minute. Let's hold up. Why would Payne look familiar to Kohberger? Payne was a beat officer at the time before this case. He was at some noise complaints. He's been seen on video. Do we have any other video of Payne out and about on body cam? Let me see. Hold on. I want to see something. And I may have to do a little bit of research on this one. Body cam, Moscow snow 1 month ago. Hold on a minute. Somebody has. Who is this? Hold on. I want to share this video.
Is corruption at its finest. There's a mind-boggling amount of deceptive behavior here. One of the officers, actually the arresting officer, actually admits on camera that he knows that the door that I enter to get into the Spokane County Sheriff's Department scope office doesn't lock. Watch this.
Let's go in and check this out.
Now this is body cam footage of.
I don't think this one's Payne. Hold on a minute. It brought this up. Watch this crazy update showing Moscow snow. Officer Payne. Carter Payne. Wrong Payne. Only the body cam for the responding officer body cam. That was September 1st. That was the first disturbance, or the second one. No, I've not seen any other video of Payne. Anyone? I have never seen any video of Payne. Okay, so let's finish this. Hold on. I'll do some research. I'll find something. So he stated, "You do look familiar." Detective Gilbertson and I were preparing our note-taking materials and read Kohberger his Miranda rights advisement. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he understood his rights, to which he replied he did. After collecting Kohberger's personal information and inquiry about any medications, Detective Gilbertson and I began to speak with Kohberger. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger about the SWAT operation at the house, to which Kohberger replied he was concerned about his parents and dog. Now, typically, when someone is arrested, they're typically worried about themselves, but yet he was concerned about his parents and his dog. Things that make you go, whoa. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he was going to Washington State University, which he replied he was, because he had every intention to return. He wasn't, Payne pulling over Molly. That's a good one. Okay. he said that we made small talk with Kohberger about sports for some time. Kohberger stated he didn't follow WSU football much, but was a baseball fan. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he had only been at WSU for one semester. Kohberger confirmed this and said he came to WSU with his father on July 1st. Kohberger then went on to say he was a first-year PhD student in criminal justice and criminology. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger what the process was to apply for a PhD. Kohberger stated he applied at two places, UC Irvine and WSU. Kohberger said he was going to graduate with his master's in criminal justice from DeSales and was inspired. Kohberger then asked if he was okay to engage in small talk, like we were, to which we replied it was. After briefly mentioning he was strengthened by the fact his mother and father were okay, Kohberger said he applied to two aforementioned schools because they did not require the GRE exam. Kohberger then spoke about the GRE for a brief time. Then he said he was accepted by WSU. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger what led him down the road to becoming a professor. Kohberger stated it was because he loved being in college and stated knowledge was far more important to him than money. Wow, this sounds like a piece of crap person, not. Kohberger added WSU had a good program to study under and said, you guys all know about this more than likely. Well, I mean, Payne got a, what did he earn? Something from the U of I. Payne got a degree from the U of I. I don't know about Gilbertson. Kohberger then asked questions about University of Idaho and other Idaho universities before stating he didn't know much about Idaho or Washington and had not left the tri-state area much. Kohberger then returned to speaking about his focus on learning and how he thought he could obtain his doctorate degree. Kohberger then said he recently returned home to see his family. Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about his time at DeSales University. Kohberger spoke for some time about his time at Northampton Community College and DeSales. Kohberger then spoke about how he became interested in criminal justice and stated he thought about being a police officer, but did not want to make that commitment unless he was absolutely sure. Kohberger then continued to speak about his education and universities. Kohberger also spoke more about the process to get into a PhD program and how competitive it can be. Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about his move to Washington. Kohberger said he drove across country and wanted the challenge of driving cross country and experiencing it with his father. Kohberger then said he took a different route back to his home with his father for Christmas break to avoid snow. Now, I want to just say this. A lot of people will go the Utah route. A lot of people will go through Las Vegas. A lot of people will go around all that snow, Donner's Pass, wherever to avoid the snow. It's bad up there. Kohberger spoke about his travels and risk of travels in winter. Absolutely. Kohberger then began to speak about the beauty of the environment because it is gorgeous up there, guys. If you've never been to McCall, if you've ever been to Cascade, oh my gosh, some of the most beautiful, Moscow area, Lewiston area, especially when you travel down and you go through the clouds. Oh, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And then he started talking about the beauty of the environment and its relationship to God and a higher power. We spoke about this for some time, and Kohberger said he was raised Christian, but was always a skeptic when confronted with the beauty of the natural world. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he had ever been to Pacific Northwest prior to coming to WSU, and he said he had not. Why would they ask him if he ever went to the Pacific Northwest? Why would that be important? Why would that be so important? Ah, oh my God. Oh my God. So oh my God. The Dows. Wow. I bet you, in my humble opinion, they were looking for a serial so they could get him for other crimes. Yep. Yep. They were fishing. They were fishing. Wow. But if you go and you look up, go Google Pacific Northwest crimes. I always, guys, have you do your homework. They're asking specific questions. So, oh my God. You know, that area is big with trafficking. It's huge. Not just that, there's a slew of serial unalivings that has not been solved. Wow. Holy crap. I didn't even realize that. Wow. Okay, let's get back. Prior to coming to WSU, and Kohberger said he had not. I asked Kohberger if he and his father made any stops along their way back to Pennsylvania. He told me they visited Colorado, but the main goal was just to drive. Kohberger then told a story about seeing an unmarked police car near Kansas City speed up behind him, catch up to another vehicle, turn on its emergency lights, then drive away. Kohberger thought this was strange, and he was unsure why it occurred. Well, that's because they were surveillancing you, the most wanted guy that they let travel all the way across the country. Holy moly. Wow. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about the job he mentioned. Kohberger stated he was a teaching assistant. Kohberger then talked about how busy he was and how the funding package that comes along with being a teaching assistant is what makes the extra work worth it. Kohberger then discussed ongoing projects with WSU Pullman PD and Pullman PD. Okay, well, wait a minute. Time out. Time out. They knew him. He knew them. That is the real Brian Kohberger. You see it in black and white. Kohberger then discussed ongoing projects with WSU PD and Pullman PD. Kohberger spoke more about how being a TA is essentially assisting the professors and the department. Kohberger stated he did not get to assist with teaching, with the exception of assisting the office hours. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he would be a TA again next semester, and he replied he would. Now, didn't they fire him and he lost his scholarship? He lost the internship? Didn't he lose it? They fired him on the 19th. He was arrested on the 31st. Isn't that what happened? I'll have to go back and look at my notes in the documents. Kohberger then stated, hey guys, I know why you're talking to me. Why? Kohberger then stated he understood why they were engaging in small talk, but would appreciate it if he explained to him what he was doing there. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger why he thought we were there. He said he wanted Detective Gilbertson to tell him, called their bluff. Detective Gilbertson said we were there because of what occurred in Moscow, but did not provide any further details. Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he watched the news. He said, I watched the news. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger why he thought I looked familiar. Kohberger said he wasn't sure, but stated I had a familiar face and he looked like someone he used to know. Detective Gilbertson then said we were there because of what happened in November just off the University of Idaho campus. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he knew what was, to which Kohberger replied, of course. Of course. When prompted to elaborate, Kohberger said it was the incident we had been investigating for. How long has it been? Ha! Oh. Kohberger said there were probably several incidents, and then he said he was aware of the homicide because of the WSU alert he received. Wow. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger, basically, gosh, this is wild. At that point, who didn't know? Everyone knew. Kohberger said he wasn't sure, but thought it was sometime the previous month. Detective Gilbertson confirmed that it was why they were there and asked Kohberger wanted to talk about that. Kohberger replied, well, I think I would need a lawyer. I think he figured out they were going to blame him. I think he had to have figured it out. Kohberger then asked if he would explain to him why they were. Kohberger then asked if we would explain to him what we were there for specifically, and added he was tired. It was 2 a.m, probably 3 or 4 now. Detective Gilbertson again stated we were there investigating the homicides of the 4 students, that we had questions and things we'd hope Kohberger would help us understand. Kohberger sat back and said he had the utmost respect for law enforcement, but stated it was his constitutional right to speak to an attorney. Detective Gilbertson affirmed this. Kohberger then re-engaged and said the only thing he heard from Moscow was an alert that came to his phone. Kohberger then said he wanted to talk to an attorney. Gilbertson said we would stop now because Kohberger wanted to speak to an attorney. Kohberger then asked where his parents were and where his dog was. Kohberger re-engaged again and asked what questions we would have for him. Wow. Kohberger obviously had a high regard for the law and the Constitution. Gilbertson then asked Kohberger again if he understood his rights and specifically what Kohberger wished. Kohberger asked what specifically we wanted to talk to him about and the reason. I told Kohberger he invoked his Fifth Amendment rights and we were not going to ask him any further questions. If they did, yeah, that would be a whole nother story. Kohberger asked again for the reason he was there, but added he would like to talk with an attorney. At this point, we concluded our interview with Kohberger and left the room. I think he was testing them. I think he was testing them to see if they were going to mess up. Maybe he's still questioning him even though he knows his Fifth Amendment right and other constitutional rights. This is very interesting, because when you go back and you listen to the end of this
we're not
video,
different, that kind of thing. I mean, just, unbelievable ego. Let me ask you about parents. I guess I was surprised to hear that these elderly parents were zip tied, but then again, knowing what they were going into, a house where there was this maniacal killer, I guess I'm not surprised. Do you know much more about how they were treated?
Well, yes, I mean, like you said, the police were just taking no chances, and how could they? They know that they have this incredibly violent offender within those walls. They don't know if his parents are going to be supportive of him. They don't know what fact they're going to encounter, so they treat everybody the same. They were all zip tied. They were held at gunpoint. I mean, it must have been a pretty horrifying situation for the parents, but as you said, they just couldn't take any chances.
Well, and they don't even, at that point, they didn't even know how much worse it was going to get for them. I mean, I have no idea how much they knew. It's possible they knew absolutely nothing. It's possible they had an inkling. I mean, we just don't know what those parents knew, but we do know that they are.
I know that I've seen this document, folks, and I will find it. I know that it was in a document that Kohberger was given a knife from a professor. It didn't say what professor or where, but I will find it for you for sure. Let's listen to the rest of this, and then I want to close it.
Not guilty of these crimes. They did not kill these kids, and what a horrible life they're living now. Question about the escape route. There's been much made about how Brian Kohberger drove away from 1122 King Road that night. He committed the crimes from 4 until about 4:20 in the morning, and then he took a very circuitous route back to Pullman, Washington. He could have gone straight, but he did a big dipsy doodle home. Do you think it's possible that he dropped the murder weapon and the bloody clothes and any other detritus of murder on that route somewhere along the way? Maybe he buried it somewhere?
I think it's quite possible, yes. I mean, as you said, he took this very circuitous route. In the affidavit, they suggested he was trying to avoid any chance of surveillance cameras or indeed maybe passing traffic. I mean, this is a very rural route. He popped back up on his cell phone ping at 4:48. He didn't get home until 5:30. It's a 9-mile straight shot from his campus home to the Moscow house where he committed the murder. So there was no reason for it to take so long. There's also sort of 10 missing minutes along that route where he could well have stopped and disposed of evidence. I mean, as you say, there's lots that hasn't been found. He was also on the move later that day, actually. He left his campus home again and he drove straight south down to the edge of the Clearwater and Snake Rivers. We actually drove that route, and where his cell phone pinged at 12:36 is within yards of the river's edge. So he may have disposed of some evidence on that. Perhaps he disposed of the knife in the river. I mean, it would make sense, and it's never been found.
Right, and that doesn't mean that it never will be. I know lots of people who do magnet fishing and lots of divers who look for murder weapons in certain areas, and maybe somebody will go there and maybe it'll be found. Wow, it's just so distressing. And hopefully tomorrow we might learn more, if not in the coming months, as all those secret motions are unsealed. Laura Collins, thank you so much, and good luck with the new podcast.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you. We'll definitely have you back. Okay, folks, if you are feeling a little bit low about the scale of retribution, an inmate number right now for the Ada County Jail, and when he moves to his big-time maximum security state prison, he'll get another inmate number, and that number will be his name, his entire identity for the rest of his days. So yeah, long before he's dead, Brian Kohberger will cease to exist. Inmate number XXXX is going to quickly take his place. But there is another number that is about to be central to his entire world, and that's the one that comes between the county jail and the state forever home, and it's called a classification score. Prison officials will take literally everything they know about Brian Kohberger, his criminal history, the severity of his offenses, whether he's an escape risk, whether he's a danger to himself or others.
Wait a minute. He doesn't have a criminal history. He was raised in a loving, nonviolent home. Y'all, I can't make this shit up. He was raised in a nonviolent, loving home. No history of any violence. None. I don't understand this. Presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court. Do y'all know that plea deals are not Harvard? Plea deals can manipulate. He stole his sister's phone when he was younger. There was no crime committed. That's like a 14-year-old commits murder, and then they don't put them on trial as an adult. What happens then? It's like, let's just say you're 9 and you murder your little sister and they don't know what to do with you. And everybody just doesn't know, they can't charge an underage 9-year-old for killing their sister. Think about it. Think about it. if he has no violent history, this just blows my mind. Listen to what she says next.
Health, his mental health, and whether he's a gang-related group. I mean, they'll come up with so many different things,
Gangs.
and they will give each of those things a number, a score. And then at the end, they'll tally them all up, and he'll get a score. He'll get a final number that will dictate where inmate number XXXX is going to go and how inmate number XXXX will be treated when he gets there. And that brings me to Leonard Verrett, who spent his career managing lockups and inmates at every security level, and for a time was the senior prison warden for the state of Nevada. Leonard, thank you. It's great that you're back on the show. I so appreciate it. The classification process I find really fascinating. With the little that we know about Brian Kohberger, and then with the lot that we know about the crimes he's confessed to, can you give me a ballpark?
Wait, what?
Of what kind of classification he will get? And
I must have missed it. Did he confess? Did he confess? I must have missed it. Boy, I must have missed class on that day.
For a person with this level of violence, it is guaranteed he's going to be in a max custody setting. With the classification, what they're looking for is the severity of the violence, the potential for escape risks, because that's something that they have to consider, the potential for violence against staff, potential for becoming a victim himself, any gang-related issues. They also look at things such as someone might come in with a drug issue, or they may have mental health issues. So those are the types of things that they would be looking at in a general classification viewpoint.
You know, Brian Enton was on at the top of the show, and he showed us inside the max security institution that is the only one in the state of Idaho. We don't know if he's going to stay there. He could be jettisoned out to another state. There's an agreement with Arizona. Maybe he's too much for them to handle. You and I talk about that. So if he goes to another state, I just wonder how much consistency there is between scoring him in Idaho and the treatment he'll get somewhere else. Meaning, if he scores in Idaho a certain number, could it get better for him in another state, or could it get worse for him in another state?
I definitely do not believe it'll get better. It could get worse. So because of his crime, because of the notoriety, the fact that he's going to be a nationally known and recognized figure for a few decades, I don't believe that anybody, no matter what state he goes to, he's going to be treated any better just based on the circumstances that we're looking at. He will be in a max custody facility with very sparse furnishings, very limited movement, very limited access to anything.
Yeah, I have to say that the cages that are within the interior of the prison itself, it made me feel better that he is just going to be absolutely miserable, no matter what kind of movement he may get where he's locked up. But I do want to ask you, I see it on jail shows, I see it in Hollywood. Jail guards refer to, one of the inmates as inmate, but they never call them by name. Can you just sort of give me the real scoop on what his everyday will be like? How will he be referred to when guards want to refer to him, when he's doing check-in, when he's doing anything official, when other people in the prison are referring to him? Like, walk me through that.
So, I mean, from a real practical point of view, if you started using numbers, you would not get a lot of response back from people. Generally, the way that prison and jail facilities work is they're trained to use last names only. So you just be using a last name, you would never refer to him by his first name, except filling out forms and whatnot. And that's a level of familiarity that you lose in that kind of a setting. So it would most likely be last name, but he would have to show his ID and he would have to verify his number anywhere he goes. So if he's moving from his cell to the doctor, he has to identify himself, show his number, and that's generally how that works.
Leonard Verrett, I'm so appreciative. I just want to give your book a quick mention here. You're the author of Elephant Keepers, Reflections of a Prison Warden. I'm so thankful for your wisdom. I also want to just quickly take a live shot because I have a podcast called Drop Dead Serious, and my producer is live in Idaho right now. Her name is Lindsay Haller. This is her phone outside of the Justice Center, and I'd like you to just take a look at what you're seeing live right now in Boise, Idaho. This is the line starting now for tomorrow's hearing. People have already started to line up to get into court, and it doesn't start till tomorrow morning at 8:30 local time in Boise, Idaho. This is just remarkable. It's 12 hours away, and people are already lined up. And my great thanks to Lindsay for getting that shot up live for me, and my control room team for scrambling and being able to show you the folks that have already started to line up. And you can bet your bottom dollar that line's going to be huge by later tonight, and by tomorrow morning, it'll be very difficult, if not impossible, to get into that courtroom, unless, of course, you are family, because they have reserved seats.
Okay, so here's the deal. At the end of the day, the media, the mainstream media, have showed us Brian Kohberger. The real Brian Kohberger debate is, do you believe the media or do you believe what you read? I want to get that interview. I will try. Believe me, I have been shot down left and right. The things I'm asking for, privacy concern, privacy. Are we ever going to hear from the real Brian Kohberger? Will he file a PCR appeal? And will the Hunter v. United States case make it simple for him to appeal? What are your thoughts? Have you been following the Hunter versus the Hunter v. US? I have been. There is some interesting things happening with plea agreements, contracts. That's what they call them. Contracts. Did he waive all his rights? This is interesting, folks. Constitutional fairness of standards. Due process must be protected. Legal decisions must be made knowingly. Defendants must understand consequences of legal actions. And when I look at this picture of Brian Kohberger and his attorney, it's not what I see. I don't think he understood 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt what he was agreeing to, in my humble opinion. Listen to what the state said.
June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on those times.
Wait a minute. You guys just heard the state say they can't put him there. He has no connection, but yet we're going to shove him into a plea deal. We do not have evidence. Okay, guys, technology's not perfect. Exactly. My phone connects to a tower 2 hours away from where I live. Oh my goodness. Department of Justice, I've already sent this clip. I have already transcribed this word for word and send it to the DOJ. They could not place Brian Kohberger at the house or no connections.
Jumping ahead, the end of June of that year, the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, moved from Pennsylvania to Pullman, Washington, which is right across the state line from Moscow, Idaho, for the purpose of pursuing a PhD in criminal justice at Washington State University. The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th, the defendant's phone connected to that particular.
Did you guys hear what he said about November 7th? Did you guys hear him? Oh my God. We have no evidence, Your Honor. We can't place him. There's no connection. So many contradictions. Everything about this case is unconstitutional. It's disgusting. An innocent man sitting on life in prison. No connections. No evidence. What the hell are they doing? Oh my gosh. November, what did he say? June?
The state's evidence would indicate that beginning July 9th of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone began connecting to a cell tower that serves the area of the 1122 King Road residence in Moscow, Idaho. Now, I will acknowledge for the court and all present that there are many residences in that area. It's a dense population of mostly college-related occupants. Between July 9th of 2022 and November 7th.
And November 7th. Oh my God. Oh my God. You guys know how big this is, right? Between July 9th, 2022 and November 7th. This is the dates he's using.
The defendant's phone connected to that particular tower during late night, early morning hours.
The 7th of November is, yes, Caleb, the 7th of November. November 7th, 2022. What day was that? A Monday. A Monday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days before the unalivings of the 4 college students at 1122. His phone connected. His phone connected between those dates.
10 p.m. to 4 a.m. on approximately 23 times. Now, I will acknowledge also, we do not have evidence that the defendant had direct contact with 1122 or with residents of 1122, but we can put his phone in that area on time. In the interim, on August 22nd of 2022, Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Deputy Darren Duke conducted a traffic stop in the early morning hours.
So they conducted a traffic stop to say he was in the area. That's basically what he's saying.
Or late evening hours, about 11 p.m. On the west side of Moscow, on the Moscow-Pullman Road. This was the traffic stop of Mr. Kohberger's car, which turned out to be a
This is word salad, folks.
15 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates. During the course of the traffic stop, Deputy Duke was able to obtain Mr. Kohberger's name, Brian Kohberger, his phone number, and his address, which at that point was an apartment address in Pullman. We then move to the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. The state's evidence would show
that's an easy answer, Miss Labreely. Did I say it right? Labreely? How can you convict without evidence? You don't. You force a plea deal. With the death penalty on the table, you force a plea deal. That's how you do it.
that early morning hours on that day, Mr. Kohberger's phone left his Pullman residence, which is an apartment in kind of the central northwest part of Pullman. That phone was then subsequently turned off at approximately 2:54 a.m. and remained off until approximately 4:48 a.m. on Sunday, the 13th of November. The state's evidence would include a trial, video surveillance of a business on the Moscow-Pullman Highway, just across.
On the car that's not his, with the fake clip-on headlights. Oh my God, I can't.
The state line from Moscow. It would show a vehicle matching the description of the defendant's Hyundai Elantra entering Moscow at approximately 3:02 a.m. Compiled surveillance that the investigators put together from businesses and residents then show...
Y'all, this is a word salad. They have no direct connection. They can't place him at the residence, but this is his car that was in the area. They lied about not tracking him. The FBI couldn't put BK there, so how did the MPD? At what point do the lies stop? Yes, word salad. 100% word salad.
Defendant's car, the white Elantra, as I've described, circling the 1122 King Road area, that neighborhood, starting around 3:30 or so in the morning. Comes into the immediate area of 1122 King Road, which is actually on a dead end, and then leaves several times. And approximately 4:05 that morning, the defense car had entered that area, was leaving, stopped at the intersection of King and Queen Road, did a U-turn, and the state's evidence would show that the defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence. The state believes that its evidence would then show that the defendant entered the residence of 1122 through the kitchen sliding door on the back side of the residence, which is the side of the residence that would face the area above where the defendant's car was parked.
What?
Defendant entered the residence, went to the third.
What? What in the world is he saying? I gotta bring up this picture real quick. Oh my God, what is he? I can't. Some days I just can't. Let me see if I've got this right. Hold on. I was looking at this picture last night and I thought, how in the world, how is this possible? Let me get the picture. Let me just check this real quick. I wonder who really backed in here. I wonder who really backed up in here. Look at maybe the tire marks. Who really did back in there? I don't think it would be a little tiny Elantra, guys, in my humble opinion. Then again, what do I know? I'm just some stay-at-home mom.
Third floor, and with a knife, killed Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. The defendant, as he left that room, for whatever reason, ended up leaving, or the sheath for a K-bar knife was left on the bed next to Madison Mogan's body. And I can jump ahead. That sheath was tested by the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab, and single source male DNA was found on the snap of that sheath, as well as blood from both Kaylee and Madison and other trace evidence. But it's important to note single source male DNA was on the snap of that sheath. The state's evidence would show that Xana Knodel still awake at this time. In fact, had taken a DoorDash order not long before this started. Her room was not on the third floor, it was on the second floor on the west side. As the defendant was either coming down the stairs or leaving, he encountered Xana, and he ended up killing her, also with a large knife. Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, was asleep in their bedroom, in her bedroom, and the defendant killed him as well with a large fixed blade knife. Each victim suffered multiple wounds. I will state for the record that there is no evidence there was any sexual component or sexual assault on any of the victims. I want to make that clear so there's no speculation. There were two other roommates in the house, and they were already asleep. During the course of this, one of those roommates awoke, looked out her door not knowing what was going on, and saw the defendant, who was dressed in black with a black balaclava on, holding some sort of container in his hand. And she saw him leave the house through the direction of the kitchen where that sliding door is that I mentioned. At approximately 4:20 that morning, so this would have been 15 minutes or so later, the defendant's car is seen on a surveillance camera for 1112 King Road, which is immediately next door to the west of 1122, leaving the area at a high rate of speed. And if the court were to see that, or anybody in this courtroom were to see that, you can see the car almost loses control as it makes the corner, heads north, and then turns to go south on Walinta, which is one of the only ways to get out of that part of town. The evidence would show that following that, the defendant in his Elantra drove south of Moscow. We know that he drove on the back roads because there are surveillance cameras on the main highways, Highway 95, that would have picked up the defendant's car if he'd gone that route. And they did not show the defendant's car on that route during the time. So we know that he went through a variety of back roads in very rural, isolated part of Lake Tahoe County. About 4:48 that morning, the defendant's phone comes back on. And the evidence will show that that phone was located south of Moscow, likely at a side road intersection with Highway 95. From there, the defendant's phone activity tracks heading back north towards Pullman, Washington, where the defendant lived. About 5:26, starting approximately 5:26, various surveillance cameras in Washington pick up the defendant's vehicle as he enters Pullman from the south and heads north and slightly west towards his apartment, where he arrived at approximately 5:30 in the morning.
Bill looks like he's sweating.
Later that morning, this Sunday, the 13th of November of 2022, Mr. Kohberger's phone returned to the area of King Road. We don't know exactly what he did, but it returned to that area. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. Pullman residence. About 9:30, the state's evidence will show, evidence taken from the defendant's phone, that he took a selfie of himself on his phone in what appears to be the bathroom of his Pullman apartment with a thumbs up. The defendant's phone then went to the Lewiston-Clarkston Valley, approximately 30 miles south of Moscow and Pullman. And the defendant is actually seen with his car at various businesses down there. This area is the confluence of the Clearwater.
Yeah, Bill, he was seen at Costco shopping after the murders, at an Albertsons buying donuts. Sure. Like we're supposed to believe Bill Thompson. And, oh my God, you took a selfie. How dare you? Now, will the real Brian Kohberger please stand up? Wouldn't you agree? Will the real Brian Kohberger please stand up? Please stand up. File a PCR. Let your voice be heard. Boy, we have got to know the answers to this case. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait 7 to 10 years. That's just not me. We have got to figure out how to help Brian Kohberger. DOJ's not answering. Governor's not answering. My own constituents here not answering. You know, I would have believed it had it not been for someone saying, man, he's got a nice tan and a nice cut. Yeah. Well, he was tanned and had a nice haircut in court also at the sentencing. Now, I want to bring this to your attention. There was a video, and then I'm going to leave you with a little teaser for tomorrow, because this gets good. We're going to watch a quick video. This gets good, folks.
Rosendahl or Nate Decker? Related to Jack Decker. Nate laughing at the grub truck, laughing on social media, and here in the army. And while he's staring at the grub truck camera, do we get a match? Compare social media and grub truck. Looks like a match to me. After he is done staring at the cam, he went with his food to the other side. out of the view of the camera and the people doing something on his phone and went back to the complete other side, away from the people. After he came back, someone tipped $15. Hey Tebow, so him at the grub truck, I'm gonna tell you who I choose. I don't believe I will fail 2 times in a night. What? On in the lane 1330, you can hear someone whistle and call Nate.
Shout out to only available at not available. Do you guys think that that was the Nate? Or could the Nate be Nate Clemens that was on the witness list for the state? Well, who is Nate Clemens? He was on the witness list. I don't know what he could have been called for, but yeah, he's one of the Beta, Theta, Pi. Well, just a history of some of this wild stuff that goes on in Moscow. You know, you guys can all take a deep dive. Any of these people coming to be a witness, I wonder what they would have said. Y'all be well, be good on the streets out there, be good to one another. And yes, my beautiful little video that I made last night was threatened with privacy concerns from a certain individual. And I'll give them their 5 seconds of fame on my channel, because I'll tell you, don't put stupid, nasty, half-naked pictures of yourself out there on public and then go to YouTube and say it's private. Just don't do it. Y'all have a great night. Love one another. Love my mods. Do whatever you can. Thank you so much, K.S. Jensen Art, for gifting 5 memberships today. Thank you so much for believing in us. Y'all be well. Until tomorrow.
The file was cold, the leads